Yes, another episode of Cork in the North podcast. Thanks everybody for doing what you do, supporting us, keeping the lights on. Obviously, I'm back here again this week now. Buy the fucking merch. Buy it. Support yourself. Support your family. Send love to me. Send money. Money. Support my golf addiction. Support me in my newfound relaxed mental state. Support me. Pay me. Thank you, everybody, for Cork in the North podcast. This week, we're joined by somebody. I'll give you a little bit of background here. This lady was at a gig I was at, and she's also, you're a patron.
Yes.
Now, you do not get this with the fucking patron. Okay? If you sign up to the patron, you do not get a fucking guest episode on Cork. This isn't part of fucking £3 a month. Shit. She's paying $1,000 a month. She's getting a back rub later. Katie Matthews-Furphy.
Yes.
Okay, now, I was doing something for Shane Todd at an event, and you were in the audience, and I spoke to you. Did I take the piss out of you?
Yes.
Okay, what did I say to you?
You said to me something about how the barracks.
Oh, yeah, because you were English.
Yeah.
I said, what barracks are you in?
Yeah.
Very classic Belfast joke there.
But you did the same, though, when you've done it to me twice now. And I didn't tell you about the first time. That was the second time.
Every time I meet an English person in Northern Ireland, I always go, what barracks are you in?
So, obviously the Empire.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, we're coming next Tuesday.
I'm not there.
Oh.
I've been rescheduled because they're filming the TV show.
Oh, what, next Tuesday in the Empire?
In the next couple of weeks they're filming, so they've moved the dates around because there's a 6-week TV show going in, which you can still go to.
Oh, right, okay.
But they've had to move the acts around because. But it's all subject to change, and it's always on the terms and conditions. So stop fucking having a go at me, Katie.
So the first time we came down,
But I'm there the week after. But you can swap your tickets. Just email them.
Okay, mate.
Just email them.
Oh, okay, very good. We're coming down for my husband's birthday.
Okay, well, if you email the website, email Jade, she'll swap them.
Oh,
So
sweet.
don't worry about it.
Okay,
But you can
we'll do
still
that.
go and watch
And then
the
you
show
can
anyway.
call me out again.
No,
So-
but there's also going to be other comedians on. So you can
Oh,
always
okay,
watch the
very
show.
good.
But I'm just saying, Jade is very good like that. She can swap them for you if there's an issue. All right? So don't worry, you've not lost your...
Fab.
Fuck, because she's coming on now already complaining about money, like.
I'm straight in, like,
Fucking
right.
English for you,
So-
isn't it?
I'm used to it. I've literally been here 12 years, so I've heard everything.
I know.
But yeah, the first time.
You're very welcome, as I am,
you.
as I
Thank you
feel
so
very
much.
welcome. I'm not from here, and I feel very welcome. Look at us, immigrants. Well, some other people that listen to this podcast would class me as an immigrant, just class me as Irish in Ireland. But we won't. It's a joke. It's calm it. Buy the merch. Relax. Close your eyes. Think of good things. Dogs jumping over grass. Okay. So we chatted, and then you emailed Amy, and Amy sent me, would you be interested? So we had a look, and I thought, well, fuck me. What a life. And I thought, this is exactly the type of stuff I want to talk about. Obviously, we do the comedy and all that kind of stuff, but it's very interesting. I was reading about you kind of sent me a bit of background information. You've been here since you're 18, 19?
Yeah, 19.
Where in England are you from?
I born in Epsom in Surrey, but moved.
Nice place.
Yeah,
Very
well,
nice place.
Longmead estate, so not as nice. No offense to anyone on the Longmead still, but moved down to Bexhill, so near Hastings, Battle of Hastings. And then
Why is she bringing that up again now? Like, you know what I mean? Bloody English, but I always chuck it in, don't they?
Get over it in something.
Get over it. Get over it. They'll probably say the same thing about us.
No comment. And so moved down to Bexhill when I was 7, and then moved over here when I was 19.
Right. You seem to do about 20 jobs.
Yes.
What do you do? Just give me a couple of sentences of what you actually do at the moment.
Well, I'm an entrepreneur.
Okay.
So, all right.
It's all about the money. How much money have you got in you now?
Friggle, about £3. So I run 3 businesses. So I run Excel in Education Tutoring School. So that's tuition, maths and English for 7 to 16-year-olds. And then I have the Mind Tribe UK, which is sort of like my main business. And that's the mental health training, workshops, consultancy, different like community workshops, training for teachers, etc. And then I also have something called Bloombug, which is leadership training, particularly focused around people that are economically inactive and young people.
So we're talking people that are out of work.
Yeah.
So people who've been long-term sick.
Yeah, people who experience disability like myself.
Yeah.
or experiencing mental illness.
So what's your disability?
I thought you were like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah,
So-
what is wrong with you? We get straight to the fucking point here in Cork in the North. What's wrong with you?
So I have depression and anxiety.
Welcome to the club.
Yes, but also a physical condition called psoriatic arthritis.
Oh, right, I've heard of that.
So psoriasis, it's not like
Yeah.
too obvious today, but you might be able to see like a wee bit of my face
I
and
know,
my hands.
I know people that have
My
that.
ears
Yeah.
and stuff.
It flares up, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. Your mum, Sean's mum has it. Oh, right. And how's she doing at the moment? Is she okay? You get a lot of cream, don't you?
Yeah.
Mickey
there's so
Barrett
many
has that
things.
as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he has, from what I can gather from what he talks about, he has the one type that I don't have. There's 5 types.
feel
I
left
have
out?
4. Yeah, I'm like, why do I not have all 5?
Yeah.
So classic.
Did you get a
English.
blue badge?
So, no. I haven't applied for it. I probably could get it, but
Yeah.
I'm just like, nah, I'll be all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have the arthritis, which is autoimmune condition, whereas most arthritis isn't linked to your immune system as such. But this one is. So I have that, and then enthesitis and tendonitis as well. So if I'm having like a flare up, it means that like my joints are inflamed, the ligaments and the tendons. So it's like everything. So you're just like, I can't move. Like the other day I couldn't like bend my fingers. Like I'm all right today. This one's a bit bad, but
You're living with this every day?
yeah,
Wow.
I know, hero. So
Give this woman a medal. Fair play to you. It's a lot of stuff you go through just to get through the day, isn't it?
yeah, well that's, it's, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, play my little violin for me, but
You're very
it
successful
is.
from what I can see.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? You came here when you were 19
Yes.
to study. Why Belfast?
Well, my family, like my grandparents and stuff, live in Ballinhenge, and I'd been coming over literally like since my mum was pregnant with me.
Like most of the English?
That's it. Coming over my whole life, I was like, this is also mine. And
Great fucking gag. You got to applaud that. This is also mine. You got to applaud the comedy.
and
Never
then,
told me to do stand-up, Kate. Okay, huh?
do you know what? I actually have, but I would be like so bad at it. I don't think I could actually like stand on stage and do it. Whereas like talking and stuff, I'm fine, or like
Okay.
bouncing off other people. So like, like a panel show type thing.
Yeah.
I could probably do that because I do like interviews and stuff, and I'm fine with that. But actually standing up and like telling jokes, I don't think I'd be very good at. I'd be like,
Okay.
well, here we are.
So you came over anyway.
Yes. As I say, been coming over my whole life, and then basically my parents split up when I was 17. So going on a little deep dive here now, bit of a gear change.
Love it.
2 days before Christmas, emotional. Yep, that was a fun Christmas. And
Why did they break up?
my,
Because normally you think, so let's just wait till after Christmas. You know what I mean?
yeah, well, it had kind of been building, I think, for a little while. Obviously, I wasn't like too aware of what was
What,
happening.
since the 21st?
22nd.
Since the day before. That's
Literally.
terrible.
So it'd been building for a little while, I think, but like it was my dad basically just decided that, he didn't want to be with mum anymore. That's fine. It took a lot of time to like even be able to speak about that. Like I've just gone through counselling again recently for that, and like just kind of repaired that relationship there. So that was like 13 years.
You'd no relationship with your father for 13 years?
No, I had a relationship with him, and like I would speak to him and stuff, and he was at my wedding, and which was last year, and we would have always kind of kept in contact like a few times a year, but I always found it very difficult to kind of like say I love you or to share anything kind of like remotely emotional.
Are you sure you're not Irish?
I am partially. So my grandparents on the other side are from the south. And then, as I say, my other one's Welsh, but live over here.
Yeah.
And so I've been coming over my whole life anyway. And because they split up, I then was like, right, where's the furthest place that I can go in terms of university that's still in the UK? So I was like, it's either Scotland or here.
Okay, we'll give you that one. It's fine. I only joke about it. It's okay.
You're like, not taking it to heart. And so I decided, right, I'll come over here and see what it's like, because both my aunties went to Queen's.
Yeah.
And then I just fell in love with it straight away.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, this is the place for me. I love it here. I love the people. And like, I still have that now. Like, nothing would make me move back to England. Nothing. Like,
It's
I love it
different
here.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And the people are mental. I was driving up a road there one day, and I was stopped in traffic, and there was a black cab parallel to me. So he's coming down, and I'm going up, and we both stopped. He had his window down and my window down. And I was kind of, when you just kind of like look, and we both looked at each other at the same time. And I went, well, man. And he went, well, how are you? And I went, you busy? And he was like, I'm not so bad. We're just chatting away. then the cars just moved
Like,
off. I was like,
bye.
where did that happen? Like,
Well, that's what I love. Like, that's what I hate when I go back to England, when I go to London. Like, nobody talks to each other. And I am such a talker. Like, I always have been. Like, if I see someone, I want to speak to them, or, you know, even if it's just a wee, well, what's the crack? How's things, you know? And when, as I say, when I go to London, everyone's very much like head down, no speaking to each other. And I'm like, why does no one want to talk?
'cause they've got busy commutes and they're in a rush.
Everyone's in a rush all the time.
So you came here, and what did you study when you came to Belfast?
English with linguistics.
Linguistics, yeah. And how was your time in Queens?
Yeah, really good. Really good. Really enjoyed it. Made some really good friends. I spent a lot of time in the...
Pub.
No, in the RA.
The what?
So the RA, the RA, no, the resident... I was
You're a fucking great patron. Listen, if any more patrons are as good as this lady, come on. Send me a message. This is great crack.
So let me explain that
remedial,
quickly.
is this?
No,
What is RA? What's
residential
RA?
assistant.
Residential assistant.
Yes.
What does that mean? Oh,
So within Elms, I'm pointing as if it's up there. Elms Village, you look after like certain blocks of students. So you're kind of like a house mummy. That's the way I would describe
So you're
me.
like the Banantee, as we say in the Gaeltacht. You're the Banantee, the woman of the house. Oscoil is Irish, like, so we go to the Gaeltacht, which is the Irish language school in the summer.
Yeah.
And used to have the Banantee. Isn't that right, Sean? So the Banantee
I only know a
would
few
be-
things. I can say like Giaditch, Ismeriditch, Kadir Tatu and all that, but not too much in Irish.
Yeah.
My husband's got his Silverfonia.
we-
Are you a Gael girl? Fantastic.
like lethal.
Really?
Can kill you with the words.
Oh
He's
my God.
lethal.
I love that.
He walks into people, do you good? Dead. I'm embarrassed, you know, that I don't have a lot of Irish. In fact, I've probably got less than about 6%.
Don't you have to
Irish.
learn it in school though in the
Yeah,
South?
but it doesn't mean you go to the classes, but you don't learn.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah, fair.
like, I've noticed since I've lived up here in the north, there's a lot more people who are like Sean who are really into the Irish,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's fantastic. Like that.
So do I. It's part of your culture.
People are like Sean that are young and interested in Irish language and stuff. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes me sound like a real big patriot. But like, the truth is that
He's currently wearing a Rangers jersey over there.
yeah, truth is my mum and daddy just like sent me to the Irish school, so like I've sort of handled it,
Yeah, and fair play to you for taking it as well.
and I am interested, but like not devout.
But you have it for it's a life
Yeah,
skill.
I'm very happy to have it.
Fair play to you. Fair play to
Absolutely.
you.
Do you do stuff every year for, is it Shuckton the Gaeliga? The Irish?
Shocked in the Gaeilge, yeah.
How do you pronounce it?
Shocked in the Gaeilge.
Shuckton the Gaeliga.
Yeah,
that
I
right?
do loads for that. Yeah. Oh, be busy.
Just exist.
Could it be very busy? Like busy with the shotgun, like be up the walls.
So
Go on, Katie. So,
the RA and
what
Yes.
is the RA?
So the residential assistants, they're kind of there to like liaise if there's any issues with like people needing signposting to support services. But I always kind of took my role seriously, I suppose, but like maybe a little bit further than other RAs would have done. So like they would have come to me with everything. Like I had 165 students, and some of them, you know, it was literally like looking after them when they were vomiting. You know, I didn't have to do that, but a lot of them, if I would see them in a smoking area when I used to smoke, don't smoke anymore, I would have seen them, and it's just in me to want to help and look after people, you know, so I would have done that. And then directing them if they needed help with, you know, like academic study, or if they were struggling with friendships. If you had international students or English students coming over that were finding it maybe hard to integrate, because that was one of the
Even
things.
people living here find it hard to integrate.
Yeah.
So
But
the
it
rumours,
is true.
the rumours
People
are
born
true
here
then.
find it hard to integrate here. Like, you know.
The rumours are true then, Katie. The RA is in Queens.
Yes, it is. It is. So, I remember on a blog post I wrote about that about 10 years ago after leaving Queens, and I remember this one comment underneath it. Everyone's like, "Do you think you're being funny by making this reference? You're so inappropriate." And I was like, "Okay, chill out." Like,
It was Jerry Adams.
I was like, "It's just lighthearted. Like I'm not being serious."
People
So.
take, honest to God, people take things so fucking seriously. Like, honestly.
Literally.
Anyway, so you're in Queens and you're doing that. Did you get paid for that role?
No. So
Voluntary role.
the way they do it is that they pay for your accommodation. So you have your place in Elms, and they fund your room, and then
So it's a good way of getting it done. I see.
Exactly.
I see what you did there.
yeah.
Save
So,
a bit of money, man.
well, that's it. And you work, you do 15 hours a week, volunteering in return for that. So I was like, that's fine with me. You know, I've always done kind of like volunteering and stuff anyway. And then, as I say, I really, really enjoyed it.
You did trauma in there as well?
Yes, at university.
Yeah.
So are you happy for me to
Love
talk about what happened?
We listen.
Love trauma.
Listen. If there's any podcast out there that's obsessed with trauma, it's Cork in the North podcast.
Yes. So just trigger warning for anybody that is watching or listening for what I'm going to say next. So in my final year of university, unfortunately, I was sexually assaulted, and that was in the March. And at that time, I was writing my dissertation. I was running for president of the university when all this kind of happened. And it was actually 3 weeks before I met my now husband. Wow. So I always think of it as like one of the worst things in my life happened, followed by one of the best things in my life a few weeks later, you know. So,
and with this assault, can I ask you what happened to the person that did that to you?
Well, I didn't actually go down the route of reporting. I kept it inside. I didn't talk about it. No, friend of a friend.
So it was somebody you knew?
I'd only met them that night. But
it was a night out or something?
Yeah, after a night out. But it was one of those ones where it was strange because whenever something like that happens, the first thing people always go to is, oh, did you report it? What did you do? And you're like, well, I didn't go down that route because in that moment, in that period of time, you're so traumatized. You know, your body goes into the survival mode. So obviously you've heard of fight or flight.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually 5. So you've got fight, flight, freeze, flop, and friend are the survival responses. So most of the time people think, oh, you're either going to fight and just push them off you or flight, run away. But they don't realize that there's other responses. So in that moment, my body, to protect itself, froze. So it just did nothing. And that's the body's way of protecting itself. It almost goes back to like the animal kingdom where people would play dead, or animals would play dead. So I think it's possums, do that as well, where they can like lower their heart rate and lower their body temperature, where to predators it looks as if they're dead. So they do it as a way of surviving. So anyway, in that moment, I froze and I was like, it's almost like an out-of-body experience where you're like, is this actually happening? Like, I'm aware that it's happening, but I can't do anything in this moment to stop it. And it used to be something that I couldn't even talk about. So it was like 2 years, as I say, before I told anyone. And my now husband was actually the first person that I told. It took me 3 years to tell my parents. I couldn't talk about it because you feel... It may sound kind of like silly or something, but you feel embarrassed. Yeah. You feel guilty. You carry a lot of shame around it. And because a lot of the times, as I say, people's first question is, well, why didn't you do this? And why didn't you do that? And why didn't you report it? And you're going, because at that moment, I was just trying to survive. And in that time afterwards, you're just trying to process. You're trying to heal. You're just trying to continue with your normal life. You know, as I say, I was writing my dissertation at the time. I was trying to finish university.
What was your dissertation on?
It was actually on the media representations of the traveling people, traveller culture.
Oh, travelling community.
Yeah. Because I am actually part traveller.
Yeah. So
this is like 3 or 4 generations ago. But that's where my husband says I have this like witchiness about me. And I'm like, is that nice or is that not nice? But like almost this like not psychic. I'm not like psychic Glenn or something. But like I have a little bit of kind of I can tell a lot of the time what people are feeling or what they're thinking without them having to tell me.
Yeah. So
I probably sound like a lunatic now, but there's that kind of spirituality side, I suppose. But that's what they would have done. My ancestors would have like done all the crystal balls and all that kind of stuff.
When you told your husband, you're then boyfriend.
Yeah.
What was his reaction?
He was actually amazing. I have to say, some members of his family had been through similar things, so he kind of knew what to do. Like he didn't ask me any questions; he just hugged me.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Thank you for sharing that. thank you for telling me that, you know, and that was probably one of the best things he could have done in that moment, was to just let me go, I've said it. I've been able to verbalise it finally.
So you weren't frozen anymore?
No.
Yeah.
And, well, partially still in that traumatic state.
Yeah.
And it took going through counselling 5 years later to actually work through, like, unfreezing, if you like, because there's somebody called Bessel van der Kolk. I don't know if you've heard of him. He does a lot of work around trauma and, like, how trauma is actually stored in your body.
Yeah.
So after that, I was developing anxiety, started having panic attacks. And it was in that time then I was like, I can't literally live my life like this. Like, I can't go on like this forever. Like, I was unable to work. I always remember this day, like, we live in Lurgan. Yes. And there was one day when we won't take any comments on Lurgan.
Epsom to Lurgan, never ever seen on Google Maps before.
They're like, sorry, we don't have a route to here.
Yeah.
So, Lurgan is like, I love it. I've been there about 8 years. But anyway, so I remember one day I was working down in Santander, or trying to work, and I was having to commute every day. And there was this one day where I got on the train and a man got on the train who looked like my attacker. And my body froze. And instantly I was like, started having a panic attack. He'd done nothing wrong. He just looked like him. He hadn't looked at me. He hadn't come near me, nothing. It was just I saw him. It wasn't him, but somebody who looked like him. And my body was still having that response. Yeah. But trauma itself is so tied in, obviously, with memory. But memory is connected to your senses. So in that traumatic moment, your body and your senses are taking in everything that's happening around you. So without you even realising. So that's what you see, what you hear, what you're touching, what you smell. So there was one day when somebody walked past me and a smell, I didn't realise, I hadn't made that connection, but it was a smell, a scent that had triggered a panic attack.
I see what you mean, yeah.
You know, so like if I said to you, think about a smell of a happy time. If I said to you, is there a happy memory that you have like a scent associated with?
I love fresh cut grass.
Mm-hmm. And if you look back, is there like a happy memory that you associate with that?
Yeah, being in my mum's house and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what like trauma and the senses are all intertwined. So it goes the same then the other way. That if something bad happens, those senses have taken in everything. But it's a survival mechanism. So your body's going, I need to remember everything that's happening right now so that if it happens again, I know what to do.
Yeah.
So it's just trying to protect you and whether that threat is real or perceived. And that's where anxiety then comes in, because some level of anxiety is a good thing. And people go, what? How can anxiety be good?
Yeah.
But can you think of a time in your life when anxiety is a good thing? Think about your role. What's your job?
Oh, yeah, because it means I care, I feel. I work hard. I get stressed about something because I want it to go well. And, you know, also I'm anxious because I want things to be right.
Yep.
And I want things to be good.
Yep.
And I want things to be positive. And so...
But it motivates you, doesn't it?
Oh, exactly, yeah. So it makes you work a bit harder, doesn't it? Like, you know.
So there's some level of anxiety that is good, but when it spills over into being unmanageable and affecting every part of your life, that's when obviously you're able to get a diagnosis. But you have to have been experiencing anxiety symptoms for 6 months before you qualify for a diagnosis. Whereas, fun fact, depression is only 2 to 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the difference. But anxiety in itself isn't actually the illness. Anxiety is the symptom. And that took a while for me to understand.
I see what you mean. So it's something more deeper there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the actual anxiety disorder, that's the diagnosis.
But that came from.
But anxiety itself is the symptom. Sorry, I'm going...
No, I like this. Can I ask you what's happened with this situation now?
Yeah. So as I say, I went through the counselling, which is psychosomatic. So it works with the body and looking at where you're holding pain. So where your trauma is actually trapped, like where it's stuck in your body, and mine was always here, and me going,
Chest.
not being able to breathe. And my
Panic attacks,
counsellor, exactly, and my counsellor said to me, where were you held down?
Okay. Yeah.
Here. And she said, that's why your body's holding it there.
Yeah.
So we did this exercise called tracking, where it like moves through your body, and you track the pain where it moves, and then eventually it actually like dissipates, it leaves your body. And I felt it go, and the relief, you're like, unbelievable. And from that moment, and doing lots of, grounding exercises and have to work on it every single day, you're able to then manage it. But I didn't do anything in terms of like prosecution, nothing. I just said, look, karma's going to do what it needs to do.
So you never went back and got him reported it?
Nope.
And can I ask, you don't have to answer this
No,
if you don't
you're
want
fine.
to. Is this person still in Belfast, do you think? Did you do the friends of the friends? Have you ever, because it was a friend of a friend, have you ever been in a social situation since where that friend is out with you and that triggered
Once.
something?
I saw him once 4 weeks afterwards. He was at a party that I was at. And it was really weird because I was just looking at him and I was like, you've done this to me.
Yeah.
But it was strange because I almost felt sorry for him, which I know is like really odd.
Because he's got to live with that.
Yeah. But I thought, do you know what? I'm going to work through this and I'm going to come out stronger.
Good for you.
But you have to carry that guilt and you have to know what you've done for the rest of your life.
Jesus.
And like, as I say, the karma aspect of it, I've always kind of believed in that like things will come back. If you do something bad, something will come back to get you.
Can I ask you an honest question now? Mm-hmm. Why didn't you go to the police?
Because only 2% of reports actually get a prosecution.
But you could have been one of the 2%.
Yeah. And if I'm being honest, it was too raw.
But you can still do it today.
I could do, but then I was actually talking about this with my husband the other day. He was like, would you consider doing that?
Sorry if that's
No,
over
not
the
at
line,
all.
like, but-
No, it's fine. As I say, I've gone through counselling and I can talk about it now. I used to not be able to, but I can now. Okay. But it's something that there is part of me that thinks, should I do it still? But then on the other hand, I'm going, but what would that achieve? And I know that, yes, you're like, okay, it would be on record if he ever did anything else in the future. But for me, the biggest fear I had around it and potentially still have around it is not being believed.
Yeah.
And that is speaking to other victims, other survivors. They have that similar feeling of not being believed. So it's if I went to them now, they would go, well, what proof do you have?
It's your word against his, isn't it? Really?
There's no proof.
There's no DNA or
No.
anything.
So we're like, is it
So
worth putting
it's-
myself through that?
I look, I can't comment. I don't, Jesus, I don't know. All I'd say to you is, fair play to you for working through it, really, coming out the other side. I'm very sorry. I think it's easy for me to just sit here. Well, why didn't you just report it to the police? Well, unless you experience something, and I've said this about certain things in my life, it is not black and white.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Like, I have experienced different things in my life, maybe that you have experienced, for example. And people say, well, why didn't you just do that? There's so many other factors. Mm-hmm. It may look black and white, but it's not.
Yeah.
And, when you see stuff in the news about the 2% and all that kind of stuff, and then you see all these fucking people going, why don't you just report? Like, you just don't understand. You don't know how you're going to react until you're in a certain situation, and not everything that looks clear as day is easy. It's like saying to somebody, I just wish the team would score 5 goals a game. You just can't score 5 goals a game.
So why can't you just win all the time?
Why can't you just win all the time? It's just because there's so many other factors in front of you, like other 11 professional players. Like, you know what I mean? So, okay. I want to talk to you a little bit then about, because from some of the stuff you sent me, like obviously you're an entrepreneur, you do the maths, the mental, the kind of like the mental health and stuff like that. What's the maths thing?
Yeah,
because I
love
found that a little bit sort of like, oh, interesting.
Random.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the maths thing but the teaching?
Yeah, so I have an A-level in maths.
Right.
So when I was 7, when we moved to Bexhill, I really, really struggled with maths. I used to be literally like the bottom student in the class. I'd come home every day crying, I can't do this, I fucking hate maths. Blah, blah, blah. And then my mum was like, right, we'll put you into tuition, we'll get you a tutor. Within a year of having a tutor, I'd gone from being the bottom student in the class to the top student in the class and being recognised on the gifted and talented register for the UK for maths.
Oh, well done.
Thank you. So there was a big improvement.
Yeah.
And I saw that the impact that one person can have on your life,
Yeah.
you know, and being shown in a way that you understand. Because my mum, she like, it's, I don't want to trivialise it and say PTSD, but I genuinely think it is around schooling and education and maths particularly. Because when she was in school, she doesn't mind me talking about this, by the way, she was made to stand on a table and recite the times tables. And I think she has dyscalculia.
We used to stand up. I used to have to do that. Mm-hmm. You stand up and you do the division, the is it right, Andrew? 4 times say was like 4 multiplied by 4 is 16. Mm-hmm. 4 multiplied by 8 or whatever it was. Or 1 multiplied by 4 is 4. 2 multiplied by 4 is 8. 3 multiplied by 4 is 12. 4 multiplied by 5, you do it all the way up to whatever 48 or whatever it is. 12 4s or whatever like. But like you're on the spot.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
When you look back now, when I look back on some of the stuff that I went through in school, which is in the 90s and stuff, if any of these things happen today, it'd be in the news.
Yep.
Do you know?
Well, that's what it was traumatic for her.
Yeah.
Like she remembers everything about it. She remembers being made to stand in the corner facing the wall.
I'd face the wall.
Yeah.
Numerous times. Mm-hmm. Best friend was the wall.
Didn't talk back to you? Or?
I had a teacher once that kicked me in the back. Pushed me to the ground, stood on my back, and then kicked me in the back.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that happened.
No, I was fine at the time. I'm fine.
You kicking back or?
No. I served him in the golf club a couple of years later.
Really?
I was all chat to him. Didn't think anything of it. Now I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. But I was normal.
Yeah.
That's my point. Like,
yeah.
When something like that is normal, you don't question it because it's, well, this is life and it's normal. And it's like that fight, flight, freeze, the other two. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? But it's about, I suppose, making it's about making people aware now, isn't it, with a lot of the work that you do, is that this isn't normal.
Yeah.
So you need to maybe, come out and stand up and talk and get therapy and get help to show you what happened to you. It wasn't your fault.
Yeah.
And it is not normal, but you can move on from it and you can learn from it. And if there's any way then that you can get empathy, you can speak to people about it, you can move on. But also, do you feel that there's a great bit of, do you feel very successful for moving on from what happened to you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
But I read something the other day which was really, really interesting. It said the difference between success and satisfaction
Is?
And, well, success... This was just on Facebook, by the way, so it's not like
this shit.
It's not from like...
This is from Betty in Ballyclare. Oh, I feel very satisfied with my dinner. My husband said it was a success.
That's what they talk like in Ballyclare.
I don't know.
Ballyclare talk like up there.
Talk like that there. I've never been to Ballyclare.
Belfast.
Never been there. No plans on going. Go on.
I don't even know what I was going to say now.
It's all right. Success satisfied.
Yes. So success is what people see on the outside. So it's like the outward presentation.
But you're satisfied within.
Where satisfaction is the internal. So it took a while because I would always have struggled with like on the outside, everyone going, oh my goodness, you've achieved this, you've achieved that. Aren't you amazing? You're an inspiration. You're a role model and all this. And inside I was like, I don't feel like that. Yeah. I feel like a failure.
Yeah.
I feel like a disappointment. I feel unworthy. And that was because I wasn't satisfied. That's because I hadn't gone through that process of like healing and self-love and recognizing that it was okay to fail and learn from that. And that's how we learn and grow. And that's why now I'm literally like obsessed with growth mindset. And I like do talks in it. I've worked with like Ulster University, Queen's, all different organizations across the globe talking about growth mindset and how utilizing that or embracing a growth mindset allows you to recover. It allows you to achieve the things you want to, but it also allows you to reframe failure. So instead of thinking as failure as like, this is a dead end, that's it, you failed, it's done. You were saying earlier about things being black and white.
Yeah.
That's like the fixed mindset. Everything's black or white. You've won, you've lost, that's it. Whereas growth mindset focuses kind of more on that grey area, if you like, which is the space in which we do the learning, where we do the growth, where we fail, but we learn from that and then say, well, how can I improve moving forwards?
Yeah.
You know, so that I literally am like obsessed with growth
You're addicted
mindset.
to growth mindset.
Yes.
Yeah. I noticed as well from what I've read about you is that you've had some setbacks in terms of after university with businesses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
It's been a journey.
But that's what I'm saying. That's probably you're probably like a 2 podcast person. You know what I mean?
Probably like a series because I love talking.
It's it's very interesting to listen to the stuff that you've been through and the trauma and stuff like that. But then obviously, on the flip side, from back then to today, a hell of a lot of things are you've 3 businesses, you're married, see how far you've come, and also in a country that you're not from, which is a big change in life. People never actually. I often feel like people never actually, like if somebody from France or Italy moved to Ireland and they built up a business, people say, "Oh, look at them, he's been," but he was also doing it in a country they're not from.
Yeah.
Away from their family, away from their own country, their own culture. So I think there's a lot more. You should feel very satisfied.
Thank you very much.
Do you see what I mean? See what I'm saying?
You're learning.
Yeah. Hey. Cork and All podcast, teaching people. Buy the merch, you fucks.
Come off the back of something so nice to buy the merch.
Buy the merch, you fucks. Hey, touch me. Lots of love. Tell me about this business.
Which one? The first one that failed?
Yeah.
So that's actually the company that I still have, the tuition company. But it was a limited company.
Classic mistake.
Exactly. Loads of mistakes.
Like I fucking know.
Loads of mistakes going limited, having 45 staff working for you. This all grew within 3 years. So I started my first company when I was 23. And then by the age of 26,
Christ,
as I
I couldn't
say...
even start cooking. I was 23, I didn't even know how to fucking cook. Christ. Go on.
it expanded so quickly. As I say, loads of people working for me. We were working with like over 500 kids a week all across the north, doing maths, English, different activity sessions. I then introduced mini mindfulness. I then introduced mini medics, where we were teaching first aid to children. I then invested 25 grand into a learning centre. And it wasn't my money, it was the bank's money. And
fuck them. Fuck them.
Your words, not mine. And
fuck them. Go on anyway.
And I'd basically spent all this money doing the renovations, like this learning centre. I was like literally plastering walls, concreting things, decorating, painting, everything. And then my mental health just plummeted. And I said, I basically had a breakdown. I was like, I can't cope. This is too much. Too much.
What triggered that? Probably
just the speed of the expansion, the worry of having all the debt to pay back and thinking what if it doesn't work? What if I'm not going to have enough money to pay my staff? And then obviously it was putting tension or strain, not tension, putting strain on my relationship at home. Because there were some months where I'd be working 100 hours a week, so literally 400 hours a month, and still having nothing to show for it, and having no money. And then having to turn to my husband.
Welcome to comedy.
400 hours a month?
No.
But having to turn to, him and go, I need you to cover my bills this month. And then it was affecting our relationship because...
He feels...
Yeah, it's not fair. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't fair on him. And I basically just had to sit back and reevaluate and go, something is wrong in the model here. I don't know enough. But at that time, I was so worried about what other people would think of me.
Yeah.
So worried about failing. So worried about ruining my reputation. And being a young entrepreneur, you almost have more to prove. You have people saying to you constantly, so you didn't know what you're doing anyway. And being a woman as well, unfortunately, we still experience some level of discrimination without people even realising, Like I always remember when I was 24, myself and Aaron went to an awards evening and I was up for the award. We walked in, the men at our table introduced themselves to Aaron first, shook his hand, didn't shake my hand.
Yeah.
and said to him, "Oh, so what's your business?" And then he was like, no, it's not mine. And they went, "Oh, is she your secretary? Is she your PA?"
Classic, yeah.
And I was like, "No." He was like, "If anything, I'm her secretary. She's the businesswoman." Yeah. But you still have that.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, those stereotypes that permeate. But anyway.
It's like when I worked in B&Q in the pandemic. I don't think I've ever mentioned it. But when I worked in the pandemic, say there was 10 staff on the floor and 5 were female and 5 were male. And you had a customer come in. They would always go to the male for help. Really? So if me and you were standing in the same aisle, say in plumbing aisle, and a customer comes down, and this customer could have been male or female, and they would come up to see the two of us, and they had a general question about product, they would always ask the man, because they see DIY and stuff like that as a masculine role.
But
when I worked there, the women that worked there had more knowledge because they were into DIY. And I used to, when I was buying stuff for my house, I was buying like taps and stuff. You buy all the small stuff.
All the fun stuff.
I used to always go to the ladies. "What do you think of that tap?" And they're like, "Oh, get it with this colour and get it with that." I valued their opinion more than I did the blokes, because if they're working in a DIY, they obviously have a keen interest in it. You know,
it is interesting.
So it does kind of like, I can understand all that kind of stuff. But I've noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed this now recently, a lot more younger people, shall we say 18 to 23, 24, they're a lot more aware of, and they don't look at stereotypes like we used to. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you look at all these young entrepreneurs now, 22, 23-year-olds winning, young entrepreneur of the year, NI, all these type of things. But you've won it twice, haven't you? Yeah. But my point is that, like, this isn't just a boys' club anymore, But it's also good to see a lot of people, like even my niece now, for example, like some of the people that she follows online now, they're all female stars. You might be a boxer or a gymnastic or whatever, like even models, I suppose, whatever they're into, singers, but they have access, coverage. Coverage is important. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's having positive role models.
Exactly, yeah. So
it's like the visibility aspect.
You take the English ladies soccer team. They're very good at the moment, right? And the Irish ladies soccer team have qualified for the World Cup, right? All their games are going to be on BBC prime time. Yeah. I remember watching the Euros with England in a defeat. I used to love sitting down and watch France v Holland men and women's team. I don't care. It's football.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I
used to watch it all the time. And I've watched the women's camogie and the Gaelic, and you know what I mean. You see, I'm not going to lie, I don't watch all of it. My point is that I'll always check it, see which county has the strongest women in, because it might be different than the men's format,
Yeah.
But I think it has to be visual.
Yeah.
No,
it is important definitely to have like the representation and to have the visual representation, and that's the same for ethnic minority communities, for people that experience disability. It is important to have positive role models, people that are relatable. Yeah. Because part of us being human and aspiration is seeing people like us doing the things that we want to do. But for me, it kind of goes like beyond that, where it's not just a case of having diversity for the sake of it or ticking a box or saying we're being inclusive. Yay, well done us.
But you're doing it for the wrong reasons as well, aren't you? Some of them are.
But it goes even deeper than that, because you're like, it has to be accessible. It's the equity aspect. It's making it accessible to people. So yes, you can have enterprise, let's say, that's being inclusive in terms of, we've put on a program for women. We've put on a program for people who experience disability. We've put on a support program for neurodiverse individuals. All of that is brilliant and very much needed, but it's the accessibility. Do they actually know that it's happening?
Yeah.
Are they able to access it in a way that is user friendly? Is it in a format that suits their needs? Are they able to actually, the way they say about like giving people a seat at the table? But some people, yes, that's a good kind of analogy in one sense. But for me, it goes beyond that. It's like, but they may not actually need a seat. They might need a stool. They might need a cushion. They might need a stepladder. Do you know what I mean? It's like people have different needs. So it's actually catering to what they need to make it accessible, the opportunity to them. But anyway, sorry, I'm going off on another tangent here.
How did the business wind up? What happened? Well, you still have it, but how did it?
Yeah,
how
well,
this
the
happen?
limited company, I had to go through bankruptcy for the limited company and myself personally.
Is that a scary experience?
Terrifying. Literally terrifying.
And they like, you see it on TV, like, can't pay, we'll take it away kind of stuff.
You lose everything. You lose everything.
So did you lose your bank, your overdraft, your credit
Everything.
card? What you have? Just a small one card machine?
They came and took my car.
Did you
I
hand
wasn't
the keys
allowed.
over peacefully?
Yeah.
Or did you shout at them?
I was like, bye. So, but no, I had to see in Northern Ireland, they don't have bailiffs. So thankfully they couldn't come and take anything from the house because the house isn't in my name. The mortgage is in my husband's name. So they couldn't take anything that wise. But from the centre, everything, all the equipment's taken, anything of value, because you're paying off a debt at the end of the day. It is understandable.
And then whatever they auction off is left over as your debt.
They're able to kind of
And
get
you have
something
to pay
from
that
that.
then every year? Every
No,
month?
no, your debt gets wiped.
But you're blacklisted for 7 years.
Yeah. So I'm
You've
still...
CCJ, have you?
No. You're just declared bankrupt. So it's a 12-month bankruptcy that you're not... Like, I couldn't have a bank account. I wasn't allowed to leave the country. Like, there's all these conditions of bankruptcy.
And after the 12 months, what happens?
You've still got the black mark against your name. So I still have it for another couple of years where I'm not able to get a loan. I'm not able to get finance to get a car. I just have my little Renault Clio that I run around in, £500, that my mum and stepdad had to buy for me because I had no money when I went bankrupt. So they had to get the car for me.
And what about creditors?
What do you mean? Is in people
Did you
that...
owe people money?
Oh,
Apart from the
yeah.
bank, apart from the bank?
Yeah. That's the thing I felt most guilty about, and I still do, if I'm being honest, is I had staff to pay. And there were staff that I owed wages to. And that's the thing that I carried the most guilt about because I knew that they had families. And I tried my best. I was like selling things that I could. All my tuition money I wasn't using. I still carried on teaching, but I wasn't using any of it to pay my own bills. I was trying to pay them.
What was their reaction to you and this going bust?
99% of them fully supportive in terms of we'd built a really good relationship and they were like, we understand. Don't panic. Because a lot of them, 99% of them were like part-time staff. So it would have been just a couple of hours here and there. And they said, look, don't worry about it. These things happen. You've tried your best. We understand. Just get it to us whenever you have it. So that could have been 6 months down the line. It could have been 9 months down the line. But I always tried to get some money back to them where I could.
Yeah.
But obviously there were a couple that it wasn't quite as amicable, which again, understandable, on their part. Like, they had a full-time job and then weren't getting paid anymore. The business had gone, they'd lost the job.
Mortgages and everything.
Exactly. And that was, again, one of the other things that I had to work through in counselling because I felt so guilty. Like, there was a point, again, trigger warning for what I'm going to say. Like, there was a point where I was actually like, I don't want to be here anymore. I can't cope with this. And, like, there was one night where I sat down to Aaron and I was like, you need to keep me safe because I'm going to go and take my own life if you don't.
Yeah.
And it gets so overwhelming that you can't see outside. You can't process and think rationally because you're just like, all I can see around me is negativity and disappointment and failure and this hurt and pain that I've caused because I messed up, I failed. But looking back now, which is going to sound really odd, it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me going through the bankruptcy, which I know is weird to say.
Here's all this motivational talk again now.
But it allowed me to kind of reevaluate my life, reevaluate what did I actually want from my life? Like, did I actually want to be doing that? Did I want to have staff? Like now, I'm just a sole trader. So I don't have any responsibilities in terms of staff, the limited company side of it. I can just do whatever I want to do and not panic.
And not be struck, because you seem to be like through a lot. Like,
Yeah.
Katie, we're going to finish up.
On a happy note.
Buy merch. Where can people find you? You got stuff online?
Yeah. So if they're looking to connect on LinkedIn, it's Katie Matthews XL, as in like EXCEL, not XL like extra large.
Yeah.
The website is themindtribeuk.podia.com. So Podia is Podia, and that's the website. It's got all free resources to support mental health. And then just all across social media is the Mind Tribe UK. So Facebook, Instagram, and then Twitter is mind_tribe.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was really, really probably needed a lot more time. So we might speak to you again. But big thanks to Katie Matthews-Furphy. I'm
still getting used to saying it.
Yeah. Katie Matthews-Furphy for coming on to Cork and our podcast. Patrons, don't be thinking you can fucking turn up here now. I'm only joking. Listen, sign up to everything. All details there. Really do appreciate people supporting the podcast and tuning in. Thank you so much to every single person. Katie, thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me.
Appreciate it.